co-processing. If you remember back to our roadmap, we talked about efficiency in clinker production. Well, one of those efficiencies is in the energy source, and co-processing is a process of taking the municipal and industrial waste and using that to replace fossil fuels in our kilns. And so this example comes from Mexico City. The reason I've chosen this example, once again, I'm not choosing an example from Germany or from Austria, where they've been doing co-processing for many years, and where the co-processing percentages, the energy in the kiln is, the majority is coming from waste in Europe. And in some kilns in Europe, it's up to 90%. But this is in Mexico City. So how they achieve that here? Well, the first and primary message I give is they've recognized that this is a joint problem, joint between the cement industry and society, and an opportunity for the cement industry and for society. So Mexico City generates 12,000 tons. I mean, I don't know what the figures are for Ho Chi Minh City or Hanoi. You may know those figures. Mexico City, 12,000 tons of waste each day. And that was going to landfill. And one of the big issues of landfill actually is methane emissions. And methane is 23, 25 times more damaging to the environment in terms of greenhouse gas potential. So it's a problem. This waste is a problem. So a few headline facts here. The Cement Association in Mexico, they worked with the federal legislation to enable co-processing in cement kilns. Right at the beginning of this talk, I spoke about the roadmap, about the demand, the supply side and the demand side, and the policy enablers that are required. So this is a great example of that policy enabler required. We cannot act as industry if we do not have the right policies. The Mexico Cement Association got the right policies to enable co-processing in the cement kilns. Secondly, they produced a roadmap. The cement sector, under CANACEM, under their Cement Association, produced a roadmap which included efficiency in the clinker production and included co-processing. So not only was it enabled by policy, but it was overtly stated and clearly stated that within the decarbonisation journey of this industry, co-processing was a key part. And then finally, at a company level, CEMEX works very closely with the local and regional authorities, and I'm sure the companies you work for do as well. And they have an agenda with them of working with public goals. And solving the waste issue clearly is a joint problem, as I've outlined, and is for the public good if that's addressed. So what have they achieved? This is my last slide on this. What have they achieved? They've got 4 sorting plants that now manage a third of the city's total waste. And more than 1 million tons of waste is co-processed annually. So not all the waste is co-processed. They sort the waste, and a lot of it is reused or recycled. But the component that cannot be recycled or reused can then be co-processed. And as a consequence of this, and you can read it there, 500,000 tons of CO2 has been reduced, and over 10,000 tons of methane avoided. And those figures at the bottom there are annually. So a huge benefit in terms of dealing with the landfill issue, dealing with the waste, and a huge benefit to decarbonising the cement industry and avoiding methane. So I hope those 2 examples on calcined clay and co-processing, you can see, you can work out what bits are transferable to your situation. I hope that has been of interest and of use to you. And it's now my pleasure to hand over to my colleague, and I'll stop sharing and allow Nicholas to share. Nicholas Antonio has been with us for about 4 years now, and came from a design practice and from doing an MBA at Cambridge University, and he's our sustainable design and construction manager, and he will now present on low carbon ratings for cement and concrete. Nicholas, over to you.
Thank you, Andrew. Hello, everyone. My name is Nicholas, like Andrew has introduced, and I've been with the GCCA for 4 years, and one of my main responsibilities is the GCCA EPD tool, which I will present later. But I have also worked on the definitions and ratings that I'm about to present for the last 2 years. This slide provides an overview of the definitions and ratings. In summary, the GCCA has launched the cement and concrete ratings by carbon footprint. This system is designed to support low carbon procurement, facilitate environmental reporting, and enable fair product comparison. These ratings are a critical step towards our industry's goal for net zero emissions by 2050, like Andrew presented previously with respect to our global roadmap. Now, our work on these definitions and ratings began in 2022, right after the International Energy Agency published the cement definitions by production. And our ratings were launched in April 2025. This slide also shows some important milestones, including the definitions launched at COP29, the adoption of our definitions by Germany, and also the adoption and adaptation of the definitions. And I'm going to explain later what I mean by adaptation by the UK. So the MPA stands for the Mineral Products Association, which is the industry association in the United Kingdom. I'm going to first start explaining the concrete ratings, and this slide provides an overview. So you can see on the right-hand side a graph. Let's explore some important features of this graph. You can see on the x-axis, we have the concrete strength measured in megapascals. So from 20 megapascals all the way to 50. And on the left-hand side, we have the global warming potential. You can see the different colors representing the different ratings from AA, which is the near zero rating, all the way to G. Now, if we explore a little bit on the left, some of the text, as I said, we have the global warming potential, which is measured in kilos of CO2 equivalent per cubic meter. Again, we have the specified concrete strength. Now, we don't see any labels of what actually low carbon represents. So the country is up to the country to determine which rating is defined as low carbon. And the expectation is for progressive reduction. So each year the country will set a stricter limit on what defines low carbon. The table on the right is simply the numerical representation of the graph I previously presented. Now, a little bit on the details of how we developed these concrete ratings. So the concrete ratings and the ratings in general were the result of a 2-year consultation and work that was done by us. To develop these ratings, we first needed to calculate the top of E. Now, this band was calculated using good practice cement products, good practice concrete mix designs to lower the emissions, and industry data from major cement producing countries. We collected data from Vietnam because Vietnam produces Vietnam was the second largest manufacturer after the US in our list. I can't remember the exact production of Vietnam on the top of my head. So the top of AEA, the near zero band, was a theoretical calculation and represents a destination by 2050 to be aligned with net zero. If you want to find out more about the details behind these calculations, you can visit our website and the article on numerical definitions. So the ratings I'm presenting are simply the implementation of these numerical definitions described in this paper. How to use these ratings. To use these ratings, you first need to calculate the global warming potential of your product using the EPD methodology. And second, you refer to the graph to see where your product lands on the ratings, and you determine the rating. On the bottom, you can see some of the graphics that we have prepared for marketing your product or communicating the rating to your customers or the general public. Now you can see there is a little bit more detail in this slide. Now I mentioned the EPD methodology. So EPDs are used widely across the world. However, there are different custom practices and different interpretations of this EPD methodology. The table in gray explicitly mentions what we consider for producing these ratings and what a user should consider to accurately determine the rating. If, let's say, a country is using different custom and practice to what is mentioned in this slide, then we can help adapt these ratings to reflect your customer practice. And we have done that, like you can see here, for the United Kingdom. A little bit on the details on what this EPD methodology includes. So we've used the EN 15804 standards and the standards for cement and concrete. Now, from our knowledge, these standards are used across the world, including Vietnam. The only exception will be North America. So the USA and Canada are using different standards, and they're using the ISO 21930. So the database that we use is EcoInvent. So this is the most widely commercial database for inventory data for life cycle assessments. The scope will be cradle to gate A1 to A3. And the GWP is reported as net. Now, what do I mean by net? You exclude the emissions arising from treated waste. For example, that would be burning tires or other plastics or waste to heat the kiln to produce your cement. And according to these standards, this should be excluded from the GWP value. However, some countries like the UK choose to reported in the GWP figure. This slide provides a bit more detail on what we actually did for the UK adaptation. Like I mentioned, if a country is using different practice and custom, we can adapt the ratings to suit those practices. Now you will think, but that does mean creating new ratings, and the answer is no, because a label of B in one country would be the same B in another country. You simply modify the ratings to reflect those practices. Now for the UK, the changes we've made was to report gross instead of net, and we use a different notation. Now the UK is using the notation C5060, and it's simply both the cubic and cylinder strength in the same notation. The UK also wanted to include higher strength and lower strength concrete. Now if I go back to our graph, you can see we cover between 20 to 50 MPa of compressive cylinder strength, and the UK wanted to cover strengths from 8 MPa all the way to 100 MPa. The adaptation is described in detail in this publication, which you can find on the Mineral Products Association website. A little bit on the cement ratings. The cement ratings are based on the GCCA roadmap to net zero and built on a starting point of the International Energy Agency methodology. You might have seen that IEA graph. It has a sliding scale with the clinker to cement ratio on the x-axis. Our graph is simply a different representation of that IEA graph. However, as an industry, we wanted to lock a particular clinker to cement ratio and not have a sliding scale to incentivize the use of more secondary cementitious materials. Like Andrew mentioned when he was explaining our roadmap, blended cements are an important lever of this decarbonization journey. Now, how can a country use these cement ratings? So the country should make a one-off choice of clinker to cement ratio. Once this choice is made, this will remain static. So you cannot change the clinker to cement ratio, and this is done because you need to track your progress. What is important is the progressive reduction rather than a static photograph of the situation. Now let's say a country selects the ratio, then you can use the formula to determine the values, the X values. So Germany has selected a ratio of 0.076. Let's see if I have it. I don't have it in my slide, but I can show it on our website. So Germany made this selection, and they determined the values for the rating. So let's have a look on what Germany has done. This is our website. You can see some introduction here, including the launch video and presentation by Andrew. And if you scroll further down, you can read more about the concrete ratings and the cement ratings. I have presented most of the material on the concrete ratings. Now I'm looking for the Germany example, and you can see it here. So Germany has used this equation and selected a clinker to cement ratio. The CCR corresponds to clinker to cement ratio. So they selected 0.76 and calculated the values yielding these labels. You can see it aligns very well. It's at an increment of 100. And the 7 and that selection, the 0.706, it roughly represents the average clinker to cement ratio used in Germany. Some other countries are a little bit less behind the decarbonization journey, so they're using higher clinker to cement ratios. And what we typically do is work with the country association to assist them in determining this ratio and establishing their country ratings for cement. Similarly to the concrete ratings, you can use the cement ratings by calculating your GWP value of your cement product using the EPD methodology, and then refer to the graph to determine the rating. For more information, I have already shown you our website. You can visit the link on the left for the introductory information that I have just presented. But if you want to read more on the technical details, you can visit the website on the right. Now, following the launch, we have continued working on raising awareness and adoption. So, like I've already mentioned, we've implemented the national adaptation for Germany and UK. We are working with other country associations to implement the ratings for their countries. Over a dozen countries across 4 regions. At the same time, we are dovetailing with other initiatives, including standards. So we are seeing how there's going to be a new EN, a European standard on low carbon concrete. So we are working on exploring how our method can be used as an implementation of the EN standard. We are also working alongside other sustainability schemes, including the Concrete Sustainability Council, the CSC, and also with different assessment tools, such as the EPD tool, our tool for calculating GWP values, but also the BEAT tool. And we're looking to incorporating our ratings into those assessment tools. Now that's all on the definitions. I'm gonna briefly, I'm conscious of time, I'm gonna briefly make an introduction to our EPD tool and then hand over to Alex, who is gonna do a quick demonstration of the tool in Vietnamese. Alex has recently started working on our tool and helped his customers produce EPDs for their products. Now, briefly, before I start talking about our tool, I want to explain what an LCA is. So a life cycle assessment is a systematic method for evaluating the potential environmental impacts of a product, process, or service throughout its entire life cycle, from raw material extraction, otherwise known as cradle, to disposal or recycling, grave. Now, depending on your product, this assessment may start from cradle to gate, like in the case of cement, because we're only responsible up to getting the cement outside our factory. Then it's becoming concrete, so it's a different product essentially. Environmental product declaration, you can see here the official definition, but in short, the EPD is a verified document, and that is important, verified document, of the LCA results of the life cycle assessment study that we've done. And this EPD consists of the public EPD document, you can see an example here, which shows the results, and the private background report. So the background report is used by the third-party verifier to verify your EPD. The GCCA EPD tool simplifies production of EPDs for clinker, cement, concrete, aggregates, and precast products. Some of the main benefits of our tool is that it simplifies the EPD creation. It's the only industry-specific tool, and that makes it easier to use because it only refers to our industry. Other solutions out there cover all the products, so it's a bit trickier to select the processes that correspond to your product. Our tool is pre-verified, meaning that when the time comes for verifying your EPD, the cost of this verification reduces by as much as 50% because the majority of the model and assumptions behind the methodology has been already verified. EPDs are becoming more and more popular and are requested by clients. So we see lots of manufacturers using EPDs to meet their clients' demands. But also it's important, EPDs are an important reporting tool. As I presented earlier, they form part of the ratings, so they contribute to a greener future and they enhance the brand image of your company. This figure shows a little bit more details on the economic benefit of the tool. To produce an EPD, you need to perform all these actions. However, our tool is already doing that for you, and you can see as well that the verification cost reduces in half because the majority of the assumptions and methodology has been already verified. You remember in my first slide I mentioned cradle to gate and cradle to grave. You can see here the official definitions in the standards about what these stages and modules, like we call it, cover. So A1 to A3 is the product stage, and you have to declare A1 to A3 for clinker, cement, and aggregates. And A1 all the way to D is a full cradle to grave assessment, and you have to declare this for concrete and precast products if you're using the European standards. However, in North America, the scope for concrete and precast product is limited to A1 to A3, like the case of cement. This is very detailed. You can see the standard that the tool complies to with respect to EPD and PCRs. The important thing here is to see the verifier of each version. We have two versions to cover the differences in PCRs in North America. And each version has been independently verified by Studio Fieschi in the case of the international version, and by Athena in the case of the North American version. The output of the tool is the self-declaration. This is not a verified EPD, so the self-declaration provides the results. It's a PDF document that provides the results of your assessment. and you can share this during the early stages of the project with your client or for whole life cycle assessments. But when you are requested to have an official EPD, or you want to have an official EPD, you need to send it for verification alongside the second output of our tool, which is the background report. The traditional EPD process is highlighted here. As a manufacturer, you're responsible to collect your data. Then you will use our tool to perform the life cycle assessment and put the results in a draft EPD. And then you send the draft EPD with the background report to your third-party verifier. And once the verification is completed, you submit it for publication. Now, this is the general process, depending on which program operator. So a program operator is the entity that is responsible to ensure your EPD is verified and then host your EPD on their databases. Depending on which program operator you will choose, the process is explained in detail on their website. The way our tool is structured, it allows you to create clinker and cement EPDs and then use them in a subsequent EPD, let's say for concrete and precast. And when you make a change to your cement EPD, this will be automatically reflected in your subsequent EPD. Now I'm going to hand over to Alex for the demonstration. Andrew and I will be here following completion of the demonstration for any questions. I know we have presented a lot of information. We will be here to respond to your questions, but you can always email us if you have any follow-up questions, and we will be happy to meet with you as well to discuss any of the topics in detail. So thank you very much. Alex, I will hand over to you.
Thanks. We will thank you very much for your kind introduction. I would like to introduce a little more about the EPD, but I think this time đây là ví dụ như khi các bạn muốn tìm hiểu về EPD thì thường các bạn sẽ vào cái Environdex EPD là hệ thống EPD quốc tế, và các bạn sẽ search ra những cái thông số liên quan đến cái đối tác mà các bạn muốn tìm. Đây là nơi mà tổng hợp toàn bộ những EPD được cấp bởi EPD International. EPD International là một tổ chức EPD được endorse, được hỗ trợ bởi Hoàng gia Thụy Điển, và nó là uy tín nhất thế giới. Và hiện giờ các tập đoàn lớn đều đang sử dụng cái hệ thống này để mà tìm hiểu các thông tin và cũng như thực hiện những cái bước đăng ký EPD cho công ty mình. Thì ví dụ như đợt vừa rồi bên mình làm cho bên Vincent, thì ví dụ như các bạn click vào Vincent thì các bạn sẽ ra được 17 cái EPD bên mình đã thực hiện. Ví dụ như các bạn click vào bất cứ một cái hồ sơ nào thì các bạn sẽ thấy là tên đơn vị người LC practitioner là bên mình, và cũng như là các bạn có thể download được cái hồ sơ EPD của họ một cách công khai. Đây là những cái thông tin đã được bắt buộc phải công khai. Thì đây là các bạn sẽ vào xem ha. Thì ví dụ như ở đây các bạn sẽ thấy là bên life cycle practitioner là bên mình, auditor là bên này, sắp đặt ti auditor, và đây là những cái thông tin liên quan đến quá trình sản xuất. Alo, và những cái giá trình, sorry là nó có một cái trục trặc về mặt kỹ thuật internet cho nên nó cứ bị cắt, nó bị ngắt ngứ hoài. Thì đây là những cái thông tin Dean yêu cầu mà chúng ta sẽ phải công bố ở trong cái hồ sơ. Thì những cái vấn đề về sử dụng về năng lượng điện hoặc là những cái chỉ số phát thải đó đều hiển thị ở bên trong này. Một số câu hỏi như thế này nè: liệu có thể dùng hồ sơ EPD về cái chỉ số về phát thải trong EPD để thay thế cho hồ sơ CBAM được không? Câu trả lời là không, bởi vì CBAM và là của hiệp hội của hệ thống hội đồng châu Âu. Hội đồng châu Âu thì nó sẽ quy định một cái platform riêng về CBAM, trong đó những cái thông số thực ra nó cũng tương tự như mình lấy thông tin ở bên EPD thôi, nhưng mà nó là một cái platform khác và phải được audit và cũng như là đơn vị audit khác. Thì bên mình cũng là đối tác của đơn vị được audit cái CBAM tại châu Âu. Rồi đây là những cái thông số. Thì để mà về vấn đề phục vụ về học thuật á, thì các bạn cứ lên trên hệ thống này để mà tìm hiểu và download những cái file như thế này để mình học hỏi. Tất nhiên là để làm được EPD á, nó là một cái quá trình mà chúng ta sẽ phải đó là một quá trình mà chúng ta phải nghiên cứu ha, và các bạn sẽ phải thực hiện rất là rốt ráo để mà phục vụ cho việc này. Rồi thì mình sẽ nói nhanh một chút nữa về tại sao chúng ta phải làm. Như các bạn sẽ thấy ở trên những cái trang web như là 2050 mà sale, tất cả những cái thông số, những cái sản phẩm liên quan đến vật liệu xây dựng cần phải được hiển thị toàn bộ trong cái file mô tả sản phẩm của họ, để mà các bên mua hàng hoặc là các kỹ sư họ sẽ vào bên trong này để mà họ lấy thông số, họ bỏ vô trong các thiết kế, các bit design của họ, để mà từ đó họ tạo ra, họ tính được cái total, tức là tổng cái lượng carbon, lượng CO2 phát thải khi họ xây một công trình, và từ đó họ mới tiến được cái vấn đề về giảm phát. Cho nên đó là lý do tại sao mình bảo là nếu mà các bạn không làm EPD, các bạn sẽ không bao giờ có thể gia nhập vô được những cái hệ thống như thế này, và từ đó mình mất đi cái cơ hội để mà bán hàng ra thế giới. Còn cái chuyện mà các công ty ở Việt Nam bán hàng nội địa thì cũng được thôi, nhưng mà dần dần những cái đơn vị về công trình xanh hoặc là những cái hệ thống mà nó gọi là càng lúc càng yêu cầu chuẩn càng cao, chuẩn càng cao á, và cũng như là cái mặt bằng chung alo, xin lỗi một lần nữa. Về cái vụ internet, rồi đây là những cái thông tin, ví dụ như cái bạn click vào bất cứ sản phẩm nào thì nó sẽ hiển thị rất rõ chi tiết những cái thông số liên quan đến sản phẩm, và dựa trên đó thì mọi người sẽ những cái đơn vị về mua hàng thì dựa trên đó những cái đơn vị về mua hàng alo, alo, những cái đơn vị mua hàng họ sẽ có thể tìm hiểu toàn bộ cái data sản xuất của một cái sản phẩm, và từ đó họ mới ra quyết định được là họ có nên mua cái này hay không. Tại vì rất là quan trọng nha mọi người chúng ta đừng có nên nghĩ đến cái chuyện gọi là giá nữa. Head of supply chain trên toàn nó sẽ mua số lượng lớn, và nó sẽ không có đàm phán giá ngay lập tức, mà nó sẽ coi là chúng ta nó có đủ để điều kiện để mà nó mua hay không. Khi mà đủ điều kiện rồi thì bắt đầu nó bắt đưa đi vào cái quá trình mua cái sản phẩm và đàm phán về giá, về số lượng này nọ. Thì ở tại Việt Nam hiện giờ thì thứ nhất là EPD, về EPD á, thì ESG là trở thành LCA consultant của EPD International. Thì các bạn có thể check thông tin của bên mình ở trên. Ngoài ra bên mình vừa ký một cái chiến lược giữa EPD International và ESG cho cái việc gọi là thực hiện một cái gói bank 1K back solution về EPD. Tức là bên mình sẽ hỗ trợ để mà xây dựng cái nền tảng về database EPD cho tất cả các mảng, đặc biệt là mảng vật liệu xây dựng tại Việt Nam. Và thứ hai là bên mình cũng đã ký với lại một đối tác ở châu Âu là SES để mà thực hiện cái chuẩn về EDG. Thì EPD là một trong những cái chứng chỉ được cộng điểm trong các công trình về LEED và EDG. Và điều quan trọng hơn là mình muốn đưa cái hệ thống làm EPD đến tất cả các mảng vật liệu xây dựng ở Việt Nam. Bởi vì hiện giờ những cái đối tác thế giới, khi mà những cái tập đoàn ở tập đoàn FDI ở Việt Nam á, thì họ làm EPD rất dễ, bởi vì họ có những cái đơn vị họ có đội ngũ lớn chuyên nghiệp, hoặc là những cái đối tác quốc tế, cho nên họ làm được, họ chịu được cái chi phí lớn. Còn những đối tác của Việt Nam, những cái công ty Việt Nam thì thường nghe đến cái giá làm EPD của là chạy hết, nhưng mà cách làm của bên mình sẽ là tìm mọi cách để kéo giá xuống, tại vì thứ nhất là đội ngũ của Việt Nam, chuyên gia Việt Nam, và thứ hai là những cái hợp tác với các đối tác đơn vị như là về audit hoặc là đơn vị cấp chứng nhận EPD International hoặc là GCCA, để mà thứ nhất là có mức giá discount, và thứ hai là có cái sự hỗ trợ tuyệt đối về mặt hỗ trợ thực hiện thời gian và cái quy trình. đó là lý do tại sao mà bên mình tự tin vào cái việc là hỗ trợ được các đơn vị Việt Nam thực hiện điều này. Thì đây là cái ký kết giữa hai bên. Bên cạnh đó thì như có chia sẻ như của ông Andrew và Nicola, thì đây là cái hợp tác chiến lược giữa EPD và giữa ECC và GCCA cho việc là thực hiện cái low carbon rating của mảng xi măng và bê tông tại Việt Nam. Mình là đơn vị hợp tác chiến lược và độc quyền cung cấp dịch vụ chứng nhận, tư vấn và chứng nhận và low carbon rating cho GCCA ở Việt Nam để phục vụ cái net zero trong ngành xây dựng cho đến 2050. Thì còn đây là một số hồ sơ EPD đã hoàn thành, tổng cộng 17 hồ sơ. Thì rất là cảm ơn các bạn đã lắng nghe. Rất là xin lỗi một lần nữa về cái vụ internet. Rồi, nếu mà trong trường hợp mọi người có câu hỏi nào thì mình tay lên ở chỗ phía này để mà mình hỏi diễn giả nhé. Nicola, Andrew.
Hello.
Hello.
So I'm just finished my presentation, and I hope that all of them already have a lot of knowledge about GCCA, low carbon rating certificate, and EPD tool. So, anything else you want to say?
Well, we would be very pleased to receive any questions.
Việt Nam đang có động thái nào để ra EPD của Việt Nam không ạ? They asked about if Việt Nam can issue EPD certificate for Vietnam only, like Vietnam EPD Vietnam.
If I understand correctly, the question is about EPDs for cement produced in Vietnam, which is being sold overseas. So one of the benefits of the GCCA EPD tool is that you are able to do the EPD according to the standard that is relevant to the country that you are exporting to. So if you are exporting to the west coast of North America, then you can choose in the GCCA EPD tool the North American version of the tool. So the tool provides that flexibility.
Alex, should we briefly show the tool? So I'm gonna show the tool really quickly. You can see it's very easy to use. You select your product on the right, and these are all my EPDs. So I'm just gonna quickly select one. Select the concrete. Then you define the information, the description of your product here, the name and the country. And then you simply follow the steps on the left to produce an EPD, starting from the materials. Here you define your cement, the quantity for that mix, and the transportation. So this is to transport the product, the left, to the manufacturing site, from the production site to the manufacturing site. And we have all it's very easy to use. We have all the materials here. You need aggregates for concrete, then you need some water. Then you simply follow the steps of manufacturing. This is where we define the electricity. And you add any other exchanges that are required. Let's say you have some fuels for heating purposes. You can click here and define some additional fuels. The waste management. And you simply follow the steps. Now, if we have a look at the results, so I clicked on results, and this is where you can see the results of your product. The first one is HWP, but our tool reports all the indicators that are required by the standards. And then you can export the self-declaration, which is PDF document showing the results and other information. This is very briefly, because we don't have a lot of time, but if you want to have a detailed demonstration, please visit our website here, and then you can contact us by clicking this button, and we will get back to you to arrange a demonstration. So our website is gccaepd.org. Just gonna write it. That's all from me, Alex. I'm gonna hand over to you to close the webinar. Thank you very much, everyone, for your attention.
Okay, thank you, Nicholas. Andrew. Is the right time to discuss with you today, because it's already 4 p.m. And we will finish the seminar now. Only other question we will answer by email. And I hope that we can have a lot of potential development in Vietnam in the future. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Cảm ơn tất cả mọi người đã tham dự ngày hôm nay. Buổi hội thảo rất là tuyệt vời. Xin chào và hẹn gặp lại.